Dogberry and Sir Andrew Aguecheek. The mere name suggests that they're going to be ridiculous characters. Sir Andrew Aguecheek is the foolish knight from Twelfth Night, a visitor to Illyria and drinking buddy to Sir Toby Belch. An ague is a kind of illness, and Sir Andrew's surname suggests that his face may look pale and unhealthy, something Sir Toby seems to back up late in the play when he refers to him as thin-faced. Dogberry, in Much Ado About Nothing, is a constable, and his name also randomly merges together two words, a household animal and a wild fruit. So, how do these characters add amusement and comedy to the two respective Shakespeare plays? And how are they presented in Trevor Nunn's 1996 film version of Twelfth Night and Kenneth Branagh's 1993 Much Ado About Nothing? Well, stay tuned. You're watching Schofield on Shakespeare. The first appearance of Sir Andrew Aguecheek in Twelfth Night is in Act 1, Scene 3, and it is quickly apparent that he is a character to be laughed at for his foolishness. In spite of his supposedly more aristocratic and therefore intelligent status as a knight, a sir, he is almost immediately made to look a fool in front of Maria, the Countess Olivia's waiting gentlewoman. His friend, Sir Toby, urges him to accost or greet Maria to make an impression upon her. However, Sir Andrew doesn't understand the meaning of the word accost and instead assumes that it is Maria's surname. He says to her with the utmost politeness, "Good mistress, Mary Accost." This makes him the object of both Maria, Sir Toby and the audience's ridicule and allows us to laugh at his ignorance. And as the scene goes on, Sir Andrew's comparatively poor range of vocabulary and slow-witted mind gives the audience further amusement at his expense. A little later into his first meeting with Maria, Sir Andrew tries to stick up for himself, show some pride as he demands, "Fair lady, do you think you have fools in hand?" Maria adapts the last word of Sir Andrew's question, which asks whether she thinks she is dealing with idiots, to reply, "Sir, I have not you by the hand." Maria's switch to the literal meaning of hand is adept and implies that she indeed thinks Sir Andrew is a fool as she isn't holding his hand. Sir Andrew then compounds his error by immediately offering his hand to Maria, presumably to come across as charming, chivalrous, engaging, but actually unwittingly confessing his own status as a fool. And so the early humour derived from Sir Andrew relates to his stupidity. Both the characters on stage and the audience can laugh at the fact he is obviously so slow-witted and unable to respond to, let alone understand, puns or clever wordplay. Dogberry, in Much Ado About Nothing, is similar in many ways, although, unlike Sir Andrew, he doesn't regularly mix with the lofty intelligentsia of a countess's household. He is a constable, a police officer, and so spends the majority of his time with other police officers or watchmen. Dogberry's wit, therefore, is not exposed in the same naked way as Sir Andrew's to clever wordplay and nifty puns. However, Dogberry does reveal Sir Andrew-esque levels of stupidity in his mangling of language when trying to come across as intelligent and well-informed about the ways of the world. He first appears in Act 3, Scene 3, when issuing terrible instructions to his watchmen, attempting to impress upon them the importance of decent, upstanding behaviour. He decrees, "You shall also make no noise in the streets, for the watch to babble and to talk is most tolerable and not to be endured." The first part of Dogberry's sentence makes a lot of sense. He is quite right to demand quiet dignity from his watchmen, as they would need to gain the respect of people if they are to have a chance of maintaining order among them. However, he then directly contradicts himself by saying that babbling, chattering in a silly way is most tolerable, i.e. is a good thing, something that should be accepted. Dogberry, in his desire to use more complicated words and to show his wisdom, frequently says the opposite to what he means, making the audience thoroughly enjoy his appearances on stage and look forward to his next clangor. Later in the scene, when complimented about his merciful nature, Dogberry hilariously cries, "Truly, I would not hang a dog by my will, much more a man who hath any honesty in him." Once again, the first part of the utterance seems great. He is so compassionate that he would not want to have a dog killed. However, the second part uses the wrong determiner, more instead of less, which transforms the meaning of the sentence to ludicrously suggest that he would want to hang honest, decent human beings. For me, part of the joy of Dogberry is that the gap between how he views himself and how others view him is enormous. Dogberry has a great sense of his own dignity, feels that he knows and understands the world, whereas the audience and characters, such as Conrad and Leonardo, quickly pick up on the ludicrousness of his pretensions. However, Sir Andrew Aguecheek, for all his ignorance of words such as accost and pourquoi, often admits his own shortcomings, which in itself provides a great source of humour to the audience. Following his humiliation at the hands of the Countess Olivia's waiting gentlewoman Maria, Sir Andrew reflects somberly, "Methinks sometimes I have no more wit than a Christian or an ordinary man has, but I am a great eater of beef, and I believe that does harm to my wit." Elizabethans generally believe that eating too much heavy meat, such as beef, would make them stupid, and this admission from Sir Andrew makes him disarmingly likeable. Yes, he may be slow on the uptake, but he knows he is, and doesn't claim or want to be something he isn't, and this makes him a far more engaging character than, let's say, another member of the Countess Olivia's household, the smug steward Malvolio. In Act 2, Scene 5, Sir Andrew once again shows his own lack of pretension about his brain powers when hiding in the bushes with Sir Toby and Fabian to spy on Malvolio. Malvolio is caught in a trance of his own makings, imagining life promoted from his current position as steward to the Countess Olivia's husband. Speaking out loud, he addresses an imaginary Sir Toby, who is of course listening in, utterly outraged. "Besides, you waste the treasure of your time with a foolish knight." Sir Andrew butts in at this point and says eagerly, "That's me, I warrant you." Sir Andrew's identification is proved correct when Malvolio continues, "One Sir Andrew," to which Sir Andrew confirms his delight with a hilarious and unwittingly self-effacing line, "I knew 'twas I, for many do call me fool." It is impossible not to like and smile at a man who freely reveals the low opinion other people have of him so innocently. And so we laugh at both Sir Andrew's ignorance, and we like the fact he is prepared to admit to it. Dogberry, in Much Ado About Nothing, is the opposite. In Act 4, Scene 2, the captured prisoner Conrad, exasperated by Dogberry's persistently idiotic mangling of language and sense of self-importance, cries out in frustration, "Away! You are an ass! You are an ass!" Whereas Sir Andrew might object to the aggressive tone implied by the repetition of the phrase, he would be unlikely to disagree with the sentiments implied within them, should they be applied to himself. However, Dogberry is outraged beyond belief. He exclaims, "Dost thou not suspect my place? Dost thou not suspect my years? Oh, that he were here to write me down an ass! But masters, remember that I am an ass! Though it be not written down, yet forget not that I am an ass." The two rhetorical questions show Dogberry's indignation as a respectable member of the community at being labelled a stupid donkey. The repetition of "dost thou not suspect" suggests rising rage as Conrad's offensive words begin to sink in. However, although the audience are unlikely to side with a generally unpleasant figure such as Conrad, they may well partially agree with his view on Dogberry's character. In many ways he is foolish, he is an ass. But Dogberry is completely blind to his own shortcomings, and this leaves him to brilliantly repeat the phrase, "I am an ass," again and again, both to Conrad, but later to Leonardo, Claudio and Don Pedro. This provides great humour to the audience, as without realising it, Dogberry is merely repeating what the majority would view as the harsh truth about himself to virtually every person he comes across.